Hey guys, this is the first hero guide that I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to concentrate these hero guides predominantly on heroes that I think are going to be mainstays within the meta, but also going to do a couple of heroes that I think just maybe there's a lack of understanding of their kit and how they can be used in an optimal way. Going to try and get straight into this one. Uh, we're going to cover a few key points throughout the map where I think things either went really well, really badly, but we're going to look at it not only from Batiste's point of view, but also try and discuss how the team can play around him, where the team should play around him, etc., etc. Okay, just a couple of things though. My rank at this point, the game was about 2,750, so about midway through plat. The enemy team, um, they're not the best, but they are organised in a way that could be seen as a threat if they, decided to actually attack us at any point. But still, their positioning isn't bad, and we can kind of use it as an example of how we can play to attack that. So just going to start off. First thing, straight out of spawn. I'm not looking at the door. This is really bad awareness. I want to show you something here that everyone should really pay attention to, and that's the Widow gets the pick on our Lucio straight away. Now, if we were a little bit more aware, or if I was a little bit more aware, what I could have done is I could have looked out the window, I could have seen the Widow. I mean, it should come as no surprise on this map that a team might set up a Widow for a cheeky first pick straight out the doors. What we could have done is I could have dropped the immortality field to give the team a little bit more survivability, also to give the Hanzo a free shot. Now what we can see here is that the Orisa has placed a shield over the Hanzo with the intention of giving him a free shot, but the rest of the team just walk out in front of him. That could have caused a distraction. So we need to be aware that if we are setting up for something straight out the gates, that we pay attention to our surroundings and communicate that. Um, if you're saying, well, Greg, why would you have used your immortality field here? Its simple answer is you can just walk straight back into spawn, switch to another hero, switch back to Baptiste, and it resets it. Nothing lost, nothing gained, because at this point we're at 0% ultimate charge anyway, which is the only thing that you would lose in that instance. So Hanzo doesn't really do anything. Next thing, let's discuss positioning very, very quickly. So the way you want to play a Baptiste is you do want to be looking for the high ground, and the reason that is that it's a lot easier to heal multiple people when you're aiming down at them rather than aiming across at them. Because you want to be aiming between them all, but be hitting the ground in between them so that the impact covers the whole area of people that you want to heal. So looking for the high ground isn't a bad thing. Looking for the high ground in this circumstance is a terrible thing because we knew the Widowmaker was there, and they've clearly taken another shot at me there. Almost killed me. If that was a headshot, I would be dead. Fortunately, got away with it, and I managed to drop down to where I should be, which is, in this instance, in this fight, we want to fight right behind the tanks. Now, when playing with a Baptiste, what you generally want to be doing, your main role, and the most important thing is keeping the main tank up. Any main healer should be really trying to aim to keep the main tank up, especially in a bunker comp where Baptiste is strong, because in a bunker comp, it relies on that bunker, it relies on the shielding around the bunker and everything behind it to get value. So keeping the main tank alive to keep that shield up for longer is the main aim. But also what you want to do is you want to be just behind your off tank where possible as well. The off tanks will protect you better than the main tank will, because the main tank kind of always has to be looking forward in the fight. Not many opportunities where they can turn around, because they need to be placed in that shield. They need to be looking for the optimal position for the shield. But the off tank not only has more maneuverability, well, not maneuverability, but more ability to be able to turn and check on the healers and the back line, but he also has a lot of abilities to protect the backline. So we've got a hog here, which could hook people away from me, or use his ultimate to push them away from me. He can body tank with with his 600 HP and his healing to prevent damage coming my way, and then also the gun obviously does a lot of damage as well. D.Va would be the same. She's got defense matrix. She can boop him away with her jump jets, or who else? We've got Zarya could bubble you. So there's a lot more flexibility with the off tank on your healers as well. But this is good positioning from me. Just behind the ramp, behind the shield, up against the wall, against the left wall. They can't see me at all, and I'm getting maximum value on my team. I'll move over there just to do the regen burst, just to make sure I get the whole team. Get caught a little bit, but to be honest, that was never going to kill me, so it was safe enough. The only real thing that was a risk there was the Widowmaker that's currently on the high ground just above me. But they were shooting at someone else. So here I'm moving backwards, back behind the main tank, still behind the main tank. And what we do here is we manage to put a McCree to the right hand side to pull the attention of the main tank, of the Reinhardt, away from us. So I'm shooting at him, the Orissa's shooting at him. If he looks at us, the McCree's shooting at him. He actually makes the wrong decision. He should have stayed looking at us and let the rest of his team deal the damage, but in all honesty the shield was going to break and he was going to die very soon anyway. What this then does is this will allow us to be a bit more aggressive. It means that my main tank is no longer in a tank battle where he has to worry about the Reinhardt. He can, or Orisa can chase anything that's behind it. But what this actually allows me to do is to consider my options. As I said earlier, getting the high ground is optimal. I also know that there is a Widowmaker in very close proximity, and getting close in on a Widowmaker can really be in my favour. It can either push them away or I can kill them and have an advantage in that fight. So what we'll see here, first thing I do, two things. I put the Immortality field down there to protect our Orisa while I'm away fighting. So there was no risk of that Orisa ever dying. The placement of the Immortality field was around a wall as well, so that the enemy team had no line of sight on it. They would have had to come right the way around, wrap all the way around to even get a shot off on it. So I knew that the Orisa was safe. I used my Exo Boots to jump up, fight the Widow in a duel that favoured me, killed the Widow, and then had high ground to pop some healing down onto the team, kill the Baptise that was kind of out of position, and then drop back down into my team before the Immortality field dropped. Something of note with Baptiste, it's very, very easy, similar to Anna really, very easy to get bloodthirsty and go for the kills. I did that at the start. You saw me shooting at the Zarya, but then I realised, well, I've got a Hog here, I've got a McCree here. Between the two of them, if I keep these alive, they'll burst down the Zarya and then we can pick off the Mercy, which is exactly what happened. And at this point I can just chase the Mercy down and the McCree gets the kill. So again, what we always want to be thinking is, even when we're at the end of a team fight, what do we want? Where do we want to be? Where do we want to be positioning? Again, in my head, I'm thinking I'm putting singular hero positioning ahead of team positioning, and I've gone to the high ground. This was actually a mistake, and you'll see in a second. The Widow gets another. I think the Widow gets a shot on me. Yeah, she misses though. So that's a bit of a alert to me that you're out of position, Greg. You gotta move back down. If we had a team that was capable of getting to the high ground or able to protect the high ground, maybe a Sigma D.Va, or if our Orisa wrapped all the way around and didn't stay on cart, maybe being in that position would have been optimal. But in the context of this game, staying with the Orisa again is the correct strategy. What actually happens here, I don't know if this is luck or if it's skill, but we managed to get a big kill there from the Baptiste. Awareness for me here knew that the last person we killed in the last team fight was the Mercy. They're still going to be walking out of spawn. We've just killed the Baptiste, so therefore I don't need to provide any healing. The Lucio's heal song will provide all the healing that the team needs when they make a very late call to push onto the point. They push their two tanks down. There's Zarya, no healing, dead. There's the Reinhardt, pulling them all over the place and dead. As you can see from the kill feed, our Hanzo gets a pick on the Widow as well. So what this means now is that they're 4 down, all 4 in the fast spawn. The only 2 that we have to worry about is the Mercy that's just walked back out of spawn and the Soldier that managed to escape. Now at this point, our team makes a few mistakes. Mistake number 1 is, don't worry about that immortality field, that was not really relevant because we'll have it back before the rest of them join us. But what you'll notice is the Hog and me push forward when the rest of the team don't. What should have happened is the Hanzo and the Orisa should have came with us, minimum, probably even the McCree as well, leaving the Lucio on the cart, or the Lucio could have came leaving Hanzo on the cart, because right now the play should be take positioning advantage to stop them from even getting out their defensive spawn chokes. There's only 3 places that they come out. The door that I'm looking straight out there, and then the 2 lower doors on each side of the big bunker door. Very, very small chokes, very easy for you to control. And if we had our Orisa in position, which would be kind of just above where the Hog is right now, we could have held all 3 of those doors with just 1 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 healer. However, with all that being said, that is the best play to do. There's a few things that have happened here that are really poor from my perspective as a player. Number 1, as soon as we took the point and completed the fight by killing the Reinhardt, the Hanzo was calling for healing, and I didn't pay attention to that. And as you can see from now, he's still only just above half. He was a little bit lower. The Lucio's healing him right now, so I didn't do my job as a healer. Number 2, regardless of what the best play is, especially when you're on ladder, you have to go where the team goes. And what we'll see here is, although the Hog and me have taken the correct move to move up, we'll get punished here. They're all coming back from spawn. The rest of our team, there they are, they're all sitting on the cart and not doing anything right now. And what actually happens is the Hog gets caught out of position and dies. And this leads to a multitude of mistakes from our team, which I'll cover in a moment. First things first though, I've mentioned a couple of times that using the natural cover and the geometric cover of the map is going to be so much more important in this meta than it has been in the past, where we've had double shields or much stronger shields. What we've done here is we've just chucked down the Orisa shield just for them to burst it through and destroy it. What we could have done is we could have had the Lucio sitting behind the car out of line of sight, and we could have been right up against that wall on the left hand side. You know, I could have taken the high ground and still been safe from them, and so could the Hanzo and been shooting down on top of them. But using the map, so the wall that's just to the left there where it says Deadlock Rebels, the high ground for me and the Hanzo, so we can get a top down look on them, and then the Lucio could have continued to push the cart around, or the McCree, the Lucio or the McCree could have continued to push the cart around while we took up position and advantage. What actually happens here, so Hogs died, I used my ultimate in a terrible position because I'm angling it in a way that we're allowing them to use their wall as cover, and as you can see from this shot, they're using that. They've pressed a pole against the wall, they know exactly where they want to be, and what we're doing is we're funneling into an inward cone, so we've got a very wide angle for our team, but we've only got a very short angle to be shooting into, whereas on the other side they are all looking out at us and we're spread out across a wide cone, and they can pick us off. And then I make an even bigger mistake, well, I've just made it actually, and I dropped the immortality field in not only line of sight of the team, but also line of sight of the amplification matrix. All of that could have been avoided just by better positioning around the cart, by using the wall to the left. They would have if they wanted to take the fight, they would have had to have pushed around, giving us that wider angle to deal damage, or they would have had to back off and we get all the cart percentage that we've got right now for the next fight. And also remember, we could have taken positional advantage as well. Also being closer to that wall would have had me in a better position for my immortality field, so it didn't get melted down straight away. As you can see through their amplification matrix, they've managed to pick off the Hanzo, and even through my best attempts to heal up, they got our main tank as well. So at this point I moved into here to run away, saw the Zarya and panic shot at them, so they turn around and shoot me. Here's something that's really good for Baptise. Just knowing the verticality of a map can mean the difference between finding safety and not. So I managed to get up here safely. The Mercy's actually chasing me, but not before my regen is available. I make a mistake here. What I should have been doing here is I probably should have been going back to my team, but I know their Mercy's out of position. I know that chances are she's going to chase me, and so I make a wrong call to fight that. I also think, well, she's walking into me being invincible here. Reinhardt just walks behind, destroys the immortality, and even though I managed to get away and showing some good awareness of the map and the abilities to be able to do that, ultimately it was all in vain, and all I was doing was delaying our next full team push. Obviously that doesn't always happen on ladder, but in a 6-stat game you'll probably want a full team push, and I've just wasted 5 seconds. What you've seen while I've been in spawner, if you've been watching the kill cam, is that we got a few kills and then they got a few kills and rezzed their Zarya back to life. Our main tank and our Hanzo have already gone back down again, and they've just graved. Now, I've got a decision here to either let the Lucio and the Roadhog die and regroup, or do I do everything that I can to try and save them? And that's the decision that I make, because I know that I have all my cooldowns available. Lucio also has beat, which I knew. So Lucio beats here, I throw the immortality down, and the whole point of this play is to keep the team alive, which we do perfectly. It might look like a bit of a crazy play, and it's like, well, why are you doing that? Because, you know, it's still 3 versus 6. If I didn't do this and I just let them both die, then our whole team is effectively right still in spawn, and it gives the enemy team an opportunity to get into a better position. How many times have you been in played Overwatch where you've managed to get it halfway around or 3/4 of the way around a point, and your whole team dies, and then all of a sudden it's impossible for you to get out of spawn? And the reason that is because allowing the defensive team to get that better positioning is giving them every advantage to win every team fight going forward. So not allowing them to take that position by keeping the Hog and keeping the Lucio alive long enough for the rest of our team to come back is the play that I wanted to do here. So again, me and Lucio, some great positioning from the whole team here. As you saw, the Hog, he moved behind the cart and then moved towards the wall. I've moved behind the rock. The Lucio was behind the rock and now is moving into the garage. I think he makes the move towards the Hog now. Yeah. So it is just all about keeping the whole team alive as long as we can. Genji dies, but for the Genji we trade an Orisa, and we also get our Hanzo back into the fight. Now, a couple of things have just happened here while I've been talking. We've heard that the Widow has used Infocytes, and then I've used my ultimate here. Now, previously I'd said that my ultimate usage was bad on the last usage. On this one I would argue that this is much better, because what this is doing, they're already around the corner and they're rezzing someone right in front of us. And so the only thing that they can do now is walk into double damage or hide. And what you'll see is that they choose to hide. However, I'm well aware that the Widow is above me, so I take advantage of possibly her. I already know that in the past from a previous engage in this fight that she is a tunnel vision Widowmaker that I could sneak up on, and she's probably not expecting a Baptise to come up towards her. I also know that she may be shooting right down on top of us right now. So what I do is I drop my immortality field to protect my tanks, and then jump right up, and we finish her off. And Hanzo actually manages to do that. The hog dies, which is unfortunate in the grand plan of things, but we managed to keep our Orisa up through the use of the immortality field and healing from an advanced position. The advanced positioning of being on the high ground, as we've discussed earlier with Baptise, trying to get to the high ground is always advantageous. Is when the Mercy pops her ult, I managed to get a full burst of damage onto her, which has put her really, really low on health. She's playing very passively right now, and our Hanzo manages to get the pick, do a little bit of a tactical crouch in there. This is a massive misplay from me. So I've totally misread the situation. I thought that the only person that we were fighting right now was the Reinhardt, which isn't true. There is also a Zarya in the fight and a Baptiste, I think, in the fight. There might even be a soldier. But I look down on the cart, see no one there, see the soldier, and again get a little bit bloodthirsty by going and taking the fight. But to confirm, quote unquote, confirm the kill and have the advantage, I also throw down my immortality field, which is a total waste of this ability. There is no reason I need to take that 1v1. He was moving into an attacking position. I could have stayed where I was, shot down from the roof while healing up my teammates, but most importantly, not using the immortality field. What you may have noticed as well is that the Zarya is now behind me. We've just lost our Hanzo, and look, there they are. There's all three of them. They're all still in this fight. So what happens now is a bit of a clusterfuck of a fight, to be honest with you. But there's the Grav. If I had immortality field right now, this wouldn't even be a questionable fight. We would have won, no doubt. But we get a little bit lucky with the Orisa, with a good placement of the shield so that's a skill actually. The Orisa put the shield down in the right angle, and she manages to body block the damage from the Zarya onto everyone caught in the grab. I think it was just me and the Lucio. And so basically, like, I could have did a lot more there than I did, got a lot more value. I didn't. As you can see though, the clusterfuck of a fight still goes on. Not really much to say here really. Orisa's in a good position, protecting me. I'm right behind her, and then the Lucio's just topping up healing on the cart as well. Obviously the cart gives natural healing anyway, so the Lucio plus me plus the cart is keeping that Orisa, and her shield placement is keeping that Orisa alive, and we kind of just, it's a battle of attrition that we win out in the end basically. So here I'm looking to get advanced in position. I think this goes without saying, this is a terrible idea, terrible ultimate. My thinking behind this was, I know that we've just killed a lot of them, and the McCree had just walked out that door, and for some reason, I don't know why, I thought, well, the rest of them are going to come out that door as well. What we can see is that they're absolutely nowhere near coming out. They're actually just respawning now, and they're all walking towards the other door. There's absolutely no angle for me to get damage on here, so I'm just wasting bullets, basically. Wasting my ultimate. So that was really terrible. What I do here isn't too bad, though. I take an advanced position, see the soldier, see that they're coming through that window, and then make a judgment call to reposition myself from the high ground onto the low ground behind my tanks. And you'll notice that that has been the constant theme between positioning with Baptise. Is it more beneficial for me to be behind my tanks, or is it more beneficial for me to be in an advanced position on the high ground? Because my team are playing so close together, a lot of the time it has been behind the tanks. Whiffed ultimate from the Reinhardt straight into the Orisa shield, but just in case, because obviously, you know, in the heat of the moment, throw down my immortality field to keep my team alive, just in case they were in danger. Again, positioning myself around the back of the wall, out of line of sight from the enemy, while healing up the whole team. We've just had the beat, we've just had the regen. And I think here we are going to see a really nice play between the Orisa and the Genji. In fact, I'll show it you from the Genji's position because it is actually really nice. And I'm not doing much at this point either, so we're all crammed up here, we're all getting healed. It's ready. Look at that. Lovely. Right. It's a lovely play from the Genji, just pulling it back to me. There's something else that I wanted to raise here is if you notice the positioning that our team takes is all down one side of the cart. What this allows me to do is heal them all at the same time, and it forces them into effectively a straight line for our Genji to fly through and wipe out the whole team. So again, using the positioning, talking about the whole team here, Orisa on the right hand side of the cart between a narrow wall and the cart, the hog behind her, everyone behind the shield, not peeking the other side. We've used beat, so we're all ready to push forward. I move into an advanced position. Genji dives in. Orisa uses her ult. Uses her halt to pull them all together. Genji pulls out the blade, wipes them all out. A really nice play from not only a positioning standpoint, but a communication standpoint from using the ultimates of our Genji and our Orisa from the position that they were in. Straight away though, you'll notice I start to move into an advanced position, moving it again. Decision, is it best for me to be behind my tanks or on the high ground? Here my decision was to move to the high ground. The Hanzo pulls out a preemptive dragon to prevent them coming out that door. You can see they're all waiting. McCree goes over to the right. We can see there that he doesn't have his ultimate, but the concern obviously with the flanking McCree on his own is that he's going to try and high noon you. The team is aware of this. I put some damage on, but I also then throw down my immortality field to continue helping the Roadhog and the Hanzo, who were continuing to pressure that door. Because at this point, we're just walking the cart in, and the main aim is to not allow them to engage in a fight on the cart. The win condition is always getting the cart to the end, and so preventing them from getting to the cart, even if we just got one person trickling it in and everyone's dying at the doors, or not winning fights at the door, preventing them getting to the cart is the win for us there. So something positive there from our team. Now let's fast forward this a little bit. Let's see if there's anything that happens in the defense. I can tell you this, that we fully hold first point, so the video is not going to go on for too much longer. So keep jumping forward. So what we've done with our team is we've kept tanks in support the same, but we've switched up our DPS to be a Torbjorn and a Reaper. I really like this change to a Torbjorn. I think Torbjorn's really strong at the moment, but he, due to his lack of maneuverability and the need to be up close, he doesn't offer the same value as someone like a Reaper or a Mei in pushing things forward, but when trying to defend a position, because he's got that turret that can cause all sorts of disruption, because people are walking into you as opposed to you walking into them, they have to move forward. They're walking into a slow moving hero with a nasty shotgun and a turret shooting them as well. Also, his ultimate is very good at zoning off areas, so when you're defending, zoning areas is critical, whereas when you're attacking, it's helpful. Getting onto a bit of a Torbjorn rant there, but let's just carry on. So from here, we want to give them the corner. The reason you give them the corner here is from a defensive point of view. If you're standing where the Roadhog is standing right now, and you'll see this happens, they're just shooting at you, shooting at you, shooting at you, shooting at you. Eventually, they've got the advantage for the positioning because they've got much more areas where they can move to high grounds very quickly. They can go up the train on the left, they can go to the roofs of the trains, they can also come around the back on the right. So standing where the Roadhog is standing right now is just, it's almost waiting for you to fail, whereas coming to here, trying to get his attention there, you have so much natural cover from the left and from the right, high ground advantage as well, so you're shooting down on top of them, so you've got a better angle to deal with damage. As we can see, our Roadhog takes an awful lot of damage. I have to kind of forget about my Reaper there. But as you can see from here, we've now got an advantage where we're shooting down onto them. Reaper's got a good pick over there. Don't know how that happened, to be honest with you, but just outplayed. But what we're doing is we're putting everything down into them. They really can't move. Now, if they moved it any further forward here, and before they all spread off and died, we could move. At this point, we can move down because again, we've then got more cover. We've got the petrol station. We've got the two big health packs just behind us that we can use. We can use the tunnel just as well as they can use the tunnel. It's kind of like no advantage either way for a flanking angle. It's a very narrow corridor. It's well away from their spawn, so they can't just stand in spawn and just continually respawn. They do have to make this walk back to the fight, so the advantage, the spawn distance advantage, isn't as much there anymore. And again, just still having the high ground up here is an advantage. So what we'll see here is they really struggle to get this cart around the corner. Lucio dives in and tries to do Genji dives in to try and do some damage. Obviously, Genji's worst enemy is the immortality field, and a bunch of people shooting at him. So I'll just revert my attention back to my main tank for a second there, just to keep them alive. Here the Genji is chasing after my Torbjorn, so I just revert my attention back to them for a second. At this point, he probably could have won that. Probably not. But as you see, from just a little bit of, because I've gone to take that fight there, they've managed to get a little bit past. The Orisa could have moved down and would have been more in a better position to do that if I was still with them. But because I'd moved away to fight the Genji and to protect our Torbjorn, that never happened. We've also lost the Reaper at this point. But there you go, this is what I was saying about Torbjorn. Just zoning them off. No one can come out of that tunnel now. No one can move forward ahead of the cart. We've got height advantage. The Sigma is a sitting duck. So he will die. Or no, actually I don't think he does. He gets away. But again, gives up so much space. And at this point we can drop to the cart and have total positional advantage. We've got cover from the roof of the petrol station. We've got an angle to watch the tunnel. They have to come round a corner to fight us, and we also have the cart to use it for our positional advantage. There we go. So holding on to my immortality field, I was actually waiting for the graviton to come. It never did, but the Genji blade is probably worse. I think he does actually manage to get a few of us here though, so don't take anything away from him. That was a really good play. He targeted the right things first. He got the turret, he got the immortality field, he then got me, and then got some the Lucio. So he's got both healers and both the things that were going to cause problems for them. So now at this point, our tanks, they rightfully so should be engaging with their ultimates and finishing our team off. At this point, I'm thinking the enemy team are probably going to get this. The best thing that I can do is go and die on cart, stall as long as I can, which is what I end up doing. So everything from here on out in the game, I think, until right at the very end, is just about stalling, and we actually managed to stall and prevent them from capping. So straight away, move around the back where the team's not looking, manage to get the Ana. Try and get away, just don't get away, unfortunately. But with the beat and the two tanks there, they do a pretty decent job of stalling. So as you can see here, they're still winning the fight. This is all just about stalling still. But our Reaper's doing a really good job. Gets a massive play there. Again, just chuck in the immortality field and get to get to the cart and hold it. Didn't realise he'd be emptied there, but then we managed to hold that point. So as you can see, running in, staggering your stalls a little bit, using your abilities to cause the stall, and trying, this is something that we saw earlier as well when I used the immortality field on the Roadhog and the Lucio. Sometimes a stalled fight can turn into a winnable fight if the enemy team makes mistakes, can't commit to their kills. And so what we have now is they have a very, very long walk back from the from their spawn, probably about the same as what we've got, so they have no spawn advantage at this point. We've switched to a Bastion, which caught them a little bit by surprise, I think. So there we go. And that's the end of it, really. There's not really much more to say. So just trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover. Oh, just let's just quickly go over a couple of things about Baptiste's abilities while I'm dead. So remembering, you can only be damaging or healing at the right time. You are a healer at the same time, at different times even. You can only be damaging or healing. You can't be doing both at the same time. Choosing when to damage and when to heal is essential. You want to keep your main tanks up. You want to keep them alive, and that's your main job as a healer, as a main healer, to do that. However, the damage that he can do is absolutely ridiculous. So getting a couple of shots in, well-aimed shots, between your heals is something to always consider. His damage is 25 hit points per round. So if you hit all three, that's 75. That's up to a range of 25 meters. It then drops off damage down to 12.5 over 25 to 40 meters. His healing does 60 per healing shot in a radius of 3 meters, which is why it's really good when you get in a bunker composition to use Baptiste, because Uh, Everyone's grouped up together. If you have like what we had on our first push, you have a Hanzo, you have a McCree, you have a Roadhog and an Orisa. All four of them most of the time were grouped up around the cart or on the cart and never too far away from me to heal. Yeah, sometimes the Hanzo went for a little flank and you can always expect that, but for the most part of the game they were all grouped up and in the right place, in the same place should I say. Which is why one of the many reasons why Baptiste is so strong at the moment, along with the damage. His immortality field, 200 HP, can keep you any hero immortal for the bottom 20% of their health. So for a 200 HP hero, um, that'll be 40 HP. For Roadhog, which is a 600 HP hero, that would be 120. So bottom 20%. Amplification matrix is a 100% increase to both damage and healing through a very small window. As you saw in my gameplay there, not only is it great for bursting down shields and that additional damage to burst down a shield in a fight, but it's also really good zoning ability. If they're all hiding behind a wall, you can pop it down. They ain't going to walk into that line of sight anytime soon. What's their other ability? Regen Burst. Actually deals a maximum of 150 health. And the way I see it with this ability is you can use it two ways, because the 150 health is over 5 seconds, 30 heals per second. So the way I see it being used is when the team's all grouped up and you are about to make a team fight happen, so you're engaging, you're not waiting to be engaged on, you are taking the fight to them, you can proactively use the regenerative burst for those first 5 seconds of the fight. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. Constantly be topping up your healing of your team and everyone that got caught by it. The second way I see it sort of being used really is reactively. So if you get, it is your self sustainability. If you are getting targeted by a Genji or someone that's diving, you can always use it on yourself if your other healer isn't around, and if you're not going to be able to make it to safety, either by using your exo boots or by getting to a health pack. I would always use that ahead of using the immortality field. Between the two, obviously if things really go bad, I would probably say die before using the immortality field if that was an option. If it's not an option, use the immortality field. So yeah, the other way to reactively use it is if your main tank is about to die. Obviously, again, Baptiste used mainly in bunker compositions, so probably going to be a lot of people around to also gain the advantage of that burst heal. But keeping your main tank up in I cannot stress this enough, keeping your main tank up in a bunker composition is the main thing that you want to do. The final ability that they have is just his exo boots. It gives him up to just over 9 meters, 9.1 meters of a vertical jump, which, as you saw during the gameplay, I was able to use that to escape from the enemy team at one point. It also allows you to take high ground. Again, going back to that point between is it best to be behind your tanks or in an advanced high ground position. It allows you to get to those high grounds a lot quicker and a lot more easy, rather than having to walk around, take stairs, of course. But then also is your escapability from fights that you don't want to take. Remember, a Tracer on flat ground, she can't get up in the sky. So if you, for example, if you're fighting on Route 66 second point around the saloon, and you're on the front of the wall, you can just jump up to the top, and then the Tracer can't get you. So things like that can be considered as well. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. If you guys have anything that you want to discuss about Baptiste, either using him or working around him within your team, how you think, if you want to know how it benefits certain heroes, then obviously we can discuss that, and I can more than happy to go through that with you. Oh yeah, just one final thing that I haven't said through the video. If you are playing a dive composition, you don't want to play Baptiste. It's just too difficult. You might as well just give up at that point. He is much better for slow moving compositions, so things with Sigma, Reinhardt, Orisa, Roadhog, Zarya. You kind of want to avoid him when using Ball, Wrecking Ball, Winston, D.Va as your main tanks. Same applies to flankers. If you're gonna have, if you're gonna play like a mixture, like have predominantly static heroes like maybe Zarya, Reinhardt, Zenyatta, Baptiste, and a Mei, but then you also want a Tracer to do a little bit of flanking or a Genji. It'll probably, the healing of the flanker will have to probably revert to the off healer. So in that example that I just gave, the Zenyatta. Gone on a bit of a ramble there, so I'm just going to end it here. See you later, guys.